Not even the dropped Andre Onana has conceded 4 goals this season. And so, by discarding the frying pan, Ruben Amorim instead lit a fire between Manchester United's goalposts. Their Premier League campaign went up in smoke a long time ago, but this was a particularly charring afternoon. Their worst defeat in the top flight and yet another contender for worst performance, albeit in a competitive field. Things got too hot for Onana following his clumsy pre-match comments and just as clumsy mistakes during Thursday's 2-2 draw in Lyon. But if he is the pantomime villain, his understudy arrived with face paint and a curly wig. Altay Bayındır was making his first top-flight appearance, and it could yet be his last. He gifted Newcastle their 4th goal with an errant kick and did not get close to the other 3, even if he was left exposed by those in front of him. It was clear from the off, though, that the Turk's kicking did not instill any confidence in his teammates. When they're low on belief to begin with, that is a recipe for disaster. But as bad as the visitors were, Newcastle cooked up a performance to warm the heart of their manager Eddie Howe, hospitalized nearby after being admitted on Friday night. 2-goal Harvey Barnes produced his best in black and white. Sandro Tonali scored a stunning goal that was matched by another gladiatorial display. He is Newcastle's sword and shield right now. And skipper Bruno Guimaraes gave substance to home chants of, "There's only one Bruno," with the 4th. Bruno Fernandes shook his fellow captain's hand when he was substituted soon after, but the Portuguese had spent much of the game shaking his head. He is a wilting rose amid thorns. Amorim later said that their display was a reflection of their league position. That feels unfair on teams who usually finish 14th, this version of Man United should be lower. Note that Newcastle have bettered this scoreline only twice this season, and those 4-0 wins were over Ipswich and Leicester. Man United did score a good goal courtesy of Alejandro Garnacho to draw level before half-time, but provider Diogo Dalot undid that fine work by not doing any work at all in preventing Newcastle's second. He showed Tino Livramento where he wanted him to go. The only problem was that the route offered was straight past him and into the penalty area. From there he crossed and Jacob Murphy pulled back for Barnes to turn in his first. If you were being kind, you could say Man United were saving themselves for the return leg against Lyon. It matters more in the context of their season. But half of this lot won't be starting on Thursday. And, if they had been, they may not be now. Afterwards, Amorim was thrown a bone by a question suggesting his side had at least created a few chances. It was clutching at straws the same way his goalkeepers do crosses. At this moment, it's hard to have any good feeling about this, he said, instead preferring to lick his wounds. He will feel even worse when he watches it all back again. Howe did not have to be present for the muscle memory he has drilled into his players to prove far too strong for this weak and wayward iteration of Man United. The last time he missed a Newcastle game, because of COVID-19, it was his first. He wore a club tracksuit in his hotel room whilst directing affairs during a 3-3 draw with Brentford. This time, he was not well enough to contribute. The centre-backs were still on the missing list when Barnes strode through for his second, pouncing on a slip by Noussair Mazraoui before exploiting the gap in the defence and finding the top corner. Bayındır then tried something he probably shouldn't have, a clever chip into midfield. It wasn't very smart at all and Joelinton intercepted with a header that found Guimaraes, and he finished beyond the forlorn keeper. Howe was watching, Tyndall later confirmed, and the win would have lifted his spurts, especially as it lifted his side to 4th. Amorim, meanwhile, was the one left feeling sick. Aside from that, in years to come, when they look back on Liverpool's 20th English title, they will doubtless not remember this day and how it felt. They will see only a final league table that shows a sizable winning margin and maybe recall a Premier League title wrapped up before April had even given way to May. But what we witnessed here at a frantic, anxious Anfield was a nervous, stumbling football team staring unthinkable calamity in the eyes and then, at the very last moment, somehow managing to turn their faces away and back towards the light. Had Liverpool only drawn this game, their lead over Arsenal would have remained at 11 points with 6 games to go. Game, set and title surely. But that's not always the way football works, and those who were here on this remarkable afternoon, both on the field and in the stands, will know that well enough now. The truth is that football is played in the mind at times like this, and here, drawing 1-1 with just a minute of normal time to go, Liverpool's were utterly scrambled. Having led early through Luis Diaz and having been comfortably superior to West Ham in every way, Liverpool's second-half nerves had slowly consumed them until they reached a point at which they were totally unrecognisable. West Ham's equalising goal in the 84th minute had been coming for about 20 minutes and was catastrophic in every way for the home team. It was an own goal from left-back Andy Robertson, but trace the build-up backwards and there were culprits in red to be found everywhere. Anfield was stunned but not surprised. In games. Liverpool, beaten 7 days earlier at Fulham and recently defeated in 2 big cup games, have been travelling along that road for a while, and this is where it had led them, to the precipice. So it was as well that they rescued this game. Had they not done so, a week of dreadful introspection would have followed. Where was the next win coming from? Leicester away next up looks straightforward on the pool's coupon, but then so did this one, only for the reality to be a little different. At the death it was captain Virgil van Dijk who rescued his team, though a sudden rediscovery of communal urgency and energy was just as much to thank. It's funny how it goes like that. Liverpool had been absent as an attacking force for half an hour, sucked back towards their own goal by doubt and uncertainty and maybe even some fear. But desperation enlivened them. Sport and psychology wrapped up together once more. And after Diaz had come close with a shot and Alexis McAllister won a corner with a drive saved at the near post, Van Dijk jumped to head in at the Kop end from 6 yards and the roof almost came off. There was still 7 minutes of time added on to negotiate. It didn't prove easy. West Ham striker Niklas Füllkrug pushed in the back for Van Dijk's goal, but not with enough force to warrant a foul. Ambled on to a Max Kilman cross in the 94th minute and looped a header up over Alisson Becker and onto the crossbar. Yes, sometimes you need a bit of luck to win a game, and there was Liverpool's. Alisson is a fine goalkeeper, but he wasn't saving that one. Much earlier in the game, the Brazilian, back in action after a concussion injury, hadn't had that much to do. Doubtless emboldened by yet another Arsenal slip-up the day before, and indeed by Mo Salah's new contract, Liverpool looked every inch champions-elect for half an hour. They were better than they had been at Fulham, and indeed in beating Everton here in the game before that. Slot's team was slick and composed and clever and hungry. There were early shots from Diaz and Curtis Jones, both saved, and one from Connor Bradley that was deflected wide. Salah then collected a long pass from Ibrahima Konate beautifully and curled a shot past the far post. Salah was up against 19-year-old West Ham defender Ollie Scholes and